Okay, welcome back to the fifth and final part of MicroJunk's furnace tutorial. In this section here, as I said when we left off in part 4, I was going to show you the GUI handler and the render class, and making sure that we fix the issues with our block class to make everything properly work. I have commented out the onBlock activated method simply because, well, this method will not work for our purposes. We're not making any base edits, and we do not have a GUI smoker that we can display from within the vanilla source code. So we need to make our own method or alter this method in some way that it will open. So what I have here, I have created a new method, the exact same onBlock activated method, and I added some things. The else if statement that you can see here, if the player is not sneaking, which is actually part of the original furnace code, it's just hard coded somewhere else. We are calling our tile entity smoker, or your tile entity, whatever you want to call it, and we are using Forge's method for opening our GUI. We are getting our player entity. We're calling our mod class and getting the instance from the mod class, and we are giving it a GUI ID. For this purpose, I have one GUI block in this mod, and it is of instance and GUI ID 0. Excuse me, which is referenced here in the handler. The case number or ID number 0, which is our block for our new furnace. We're on the server side calling the container along with the tile, and on the client side, as I've stated before in previous tutorial parts of this tutorial, the GUI is handled client side. So for this case ID 0, we're going to call the GUI with the tile entity of our new block. And the code for this will be posted in the thread. You can find it there. Unless you've created other items and blocks with GUIs, you may already have one. Just make sure you give it a new ID. 1, 2, 3, wherever you may have left off before. And that class will be available for you on the thread. Back to our mod class. If you remember, we had an error there for our render smoker. You need to add this line here. You can pause the video and do so. Rendering registry, the register block handler, because we're registering a new handler for our block. Mine is smoker, and yours may be whatever you want to call it. We need to give it an ID. My ID is 2105. Anything above 2000 should work just fine. I've had issues with things below 2000. I don't know why. I'm not even going to pretend to know why that works and doesn't work. I'm not going to tell you that it's because of this or that and I'm wrong. I have absolutely no idea. I just know that I've had the best success with anything above 2000. And this is the render class. Again, I have no absolute 100% knowledge of this class and how it works. This code was actually written for me by ShadowBeast007 from the Fossil Archaeology Mod Revival team, which I used to be a part of. I was given permission some time ago to actually use this code for all my ventures in modding. When I create things that need to be rendered properly, such as furnaces. So you may go ahead and use this code if you like. I will post this also in a thread with the GUI handler code as well. I'm not going to explain much of this other than here at the top you need to change this code to match your mod class and your active block. I've tried with the idle block. I have not had much success with that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. I've had absolute success getting it from the active block state. And down here at the bottom, we're overriding the vanilla render ID and adding our own. That ID must match the same ID here, 2105, and in the block class you need to give it a render type. Okay, get the render type, which is getting it from the render class, and you also once again need to give it the same exact ID. That ID must be the exact same in all three cases. Okay? If you don't, it's not going to work. So then the red line that you've had here will go away. If you've been following along, you'll have no problems at all. Excuse me. Now, as I said before, I'm not changing the textures. This is for a tutorial, so I'm sure you're going to want to make your own textures. Just make sure you register those textures as you would any texture for any block class, and you'll be fine. Just make sure you have the side and the top, and in this line here you want to make sure that you have the active before the off state, and it should work without any problems at all. If you've copied your block class like I did from the block furnace, all the code that you have will be perfect 100% of the time without any issues. Just make sure that when you make updates for when Minecraft updates, you review the code, because as I stated before in the first part of this tutorial, this code changes almost every single time. It has since 1.47. Every single time the code has changed to some degree. I don't know why they do that, but they do. So just make sure that when you update this to 1.7, 1. Whatever, as it goes, you want to reference back to the code so that you can make sure your block's going to work correctly. So without further ado, everything should now have no errors. All the little red marks should be gone, and we can run this. So let's run. So as you see, we got it loaded without an issue. There are no issues with this. It loads fine. No errors have been given. We can play the selected world, or you can create your own, however you want to do this. I've been using this world for all the GUI blocks that I've made in this Eclipse setup, and I've got a bunch over there. They all work perfectly. I've used the same code almost every single time with success every time. Let's brighten this up, and as you can see, I have my smoker block. You can go into the blocks tab in your creative mode and scroll all the way down, and you'll find your block. As I've stated, I've got several that I've created here. I'm not going to get into any of those. We're only focusing on the tutorial block here that I've created. And with the render class, as you can see, the block is actually rendering properly. There are no issues there. All the ones I've created, I've used that same code. They all render properly. So that should work for you. If it does not, I am sorry. You need to review the code because you have done something wrong. So we can go ahead and put our block down, and as you can see, if we put it all the way around, it faces us every time because the render is correct. The block code was correct because we copied the block over. And we can go ahead and go in here. As you see, the GUI does open. We can go and get a fuel source, which we've left all the fuel sources the same. Everything should be fine. And we left one recipe. Remember, we left only the ore, the iron ore block recipe in there. So that's the only one that should work. So if I put my fuel in here and add raw chicken to it, as you can see, it does nothing because that's not an accepted item. And same with the fish. I can put the fish in there. It's not a valid item. Remember, I pointed out in the last tutorial part of this tutorial, what does the checking and what says this is valid and this is not valid. It's checking that slot right now, and it's looking in the class, is raw fish part of this valid item, and is it going to smelt? Well, no, it's not, because we don't have it in there. It's not something that is valid, so it's not going to smelt it. But if I put my iron ore block in there, you can see I get the cooking flames. I got the progress bar working. It is smelting. It's doing its job. It's working. And as you can see, I've collected the item. I got an iron ingot now. No crash, nothing. It works. So if you follow this tutorial and notice that I have created everything from the vanilla code, and you do as I have done, you should have absolutely no errors and no problems. Everything should work just fine as it should, and your block should render. Everything should be perfect. Happy coding and good luck with your furnaces. Please, if you have any questions, anything that I have not covered, post them in the forum thread. Please don't PM me anymore for issues pertaining to the furnace. And scroll through the thread. If you have a comment like, why doesn't my block show up? Well, if you viewed my tutorial, you'll know why your block doesn't show up. If your block is not updating its active state, you'll know why it's not activating or showing active state, because you didn't do something right in the tile entity. I've went over this. I've showed you every class, top to bottom, for the necessary changes and what parts need changed and what those parts are for. You should have no issues now creating a furnace, and that's pretty much that, and should cover it. So thank you for watching. Enjoy the tutorial. I hope you have. If you, like I said, have any questions, post them on the forum thread. Thank you very much, and thanks for watching.